Welcome back to Miss Teacher Tube with Janice Leong. On today's episode, we're going to be learning all about reading and writing numbers 0 to 10. Now, if you're in my class, we learn spelling a very special way. We learn all about graphemes. So I've got quite an extended spelling lesson on how to handle these words. Just to get you warmed up, you don't need to memorize all of it because I will have some help along the way. But it's important to know kind of the science behind how to spell words properly. So before you even get started on my spelling lesson with these words, I want to just tell you that we're going to be learning about graphemes. Now, graphemes are letters that are associated with a sound. So when you see letters on a page, they're associated with a certain sound or sounds. Now, if you see underlined, more than one grapheme that's underlined, those letters all together are making one sound. So you may see many letters in a word, but sometimes letters work together to make a sound. So whenever that happens and there's more than one letter, I'm going to underline it to let you know that. So you're not trying to sound out every single letter to try to spell the word, because that's not the way the English language sounds out and spells words. So that's just a heads up to get you started. Enjoy the lesson. If you need to watch it over a few times because it is a lot of information, go ahead and re-watch this as many times as you need to and practice spelling your number words. I'll see you soon.
Welcome back. For the purpose of these spelling lessons to spell number words, all of the vowels I'm going to make red. So A, E, I, O, U, and Y will be in red. And all of my consonant letters I'm going to make in blue. The very first word we're going to spell is zero. So zero has two syllables. So I'm going to start by writing it all together, and the writing below for the same word, I'm going to break it into syllables and analyze the spelling. So zero, the first E is making its second sound. So E has two sounds, E, and the word zero, the E is making its second sound. The O as well. O has three sounds, ah, o, oo, and the O is making its second sound. For the word zero, we have four sounds, z, e, o, but two syllables, zero. Next, we're going to look at the word one. One is spelled O-N-E. I'm going to write the word all together, and below we're going to analyze it. So the O is saying wa. Now, this is an exception word because O makes three sounds, ah, o, oo. It does not make the sound wa. So we need to put an X on the top of that to let us know it's an exception. We're going to double underline any word that does not make the sound it should make or makes no sound at all. So we're going to underline the O in one. We're also going to double underline the E in one. E says or E. It has two sounds. But in the word one, it is absolutely silent. So we need to double underline the E in the word one. The word one also has one syllable. To say it for spelling, I would pronounce it own. O-N-E. Now the reason why the word one has an exception spelling is because the spelling shows its relationship to the words once, alone, lone, and only. Let's look at the word number two. There are many ways to spell two, but you need the W in the middle for it to be the number two. So two has one syllable. So above we're going to write it in the one syllable, and underneath we're going to analyze it. So T-W-O, the W needs to be double underlined because it's completely silent. And the O says three sounds, ah, o, oo. In the word two, it's making its third sound, oo. The word two has one syllable, but two sounds, t, oo. The spelling of the word two shows its relationship to the words 20, 12, twice, and twin. Now let's take a close look at the word three. 3 has two double graphemes in it that need to be underlined. A double grapheme is two letters that work together to make a single sound. So TH says th or th, and in this case it's making its first sound. E double E always says E, so the two E's on the end work together to make a single sound. With the word 3, there are 3 sounds, so f, E, one syllable, 3. Let's take a closer look at the word 4. 4 can be written a couple of different ways. For the number, we spell it with an OU in the middle, not an O. Now the OU is a double grapheme that needs to be underlined, and OU says quite a few different sounds. It says ow, o, oo, In this case, it's making its second sound, O, so we mark it with a 2 so we know it's making its second sound. With the word 4, there is one syllable, but 3 sounds. O, The word 5. 5 has got a silent E on the end, which is forcing the I to make its second sound. 5 is a one-syllable word, but you can hear 3 sounds in it. I, V. Again, the E normally says E. In this case, it's silent. And the I says I, E, Y. And in this case, the E is helping it make its second sound, I. Let's take a look at the word 6. 6 is a one-syllable word. With the word 6, the I says I, E, Y, but in the word 6 is making its first sound, so we don't need to mark it. S is also very interesting. It is a consonant that says 2 different sounds, S or Z. In the word 6, it's making its first sound, so we don't need to mark that one either. Again, 6 is a one-syllable word, 6, with 3 sounds in it. S, X. Now let's take a look at the word 7. It's not so easy because it has a schwa in it. A schwa sound, they are sounds that vowels make that say or I. That's not its normal sound, and they are appearing in unstressed syllables. So in the word 7, you have the stressed syllable is the first one, the second syllable is not stressed. So 2 syllables in the word 7, sev, and the E is double underlined because it is a schwa sound. So normally E says or E, but in this case, it is saying its first sound in the first E, but the second E, you can hear the schwa. 7, 7, 7. You can hear a lot of different vowel sounds going on for that second E, which is why it is a schwa sound. So with that one, we're going to double underline it. Now, the S too is a consonant that has more than one sound. S says S or Z, and in the word 7, it is making its first sound. So we don't need to mark any of the letters because they're all making their first or only sound with the exception of that E, which is a schwa sound. So the word 7 has 2 syllables, seven, but 5 sounds within them. So S, E, V, E, N. Now let's take a look at the word 8. 8 is super tricky. It has a very long multi-letter grapheme within it. 4-letter grapheme is E-I-G-H, and altogether those 4 letters make one of 2 sounds. They either say A or I. 8 is a single syllable word, one syllable, but it has 2 sounds within it, A, T. The E-I-G-H is the A, and the T is the T. So in order to spell it out, you need to know it's going to be a little tricky, and try to remember that 4-letter grapheme. Let's take a close look at the word 9. So the word 9 has one syllable. It has a silent E on the end, which we have to double underline, and the silent E's job is to help that I make its second sound. So I makes 4 sounds, I, E, Y. In the word 9, you can hear that it's making its second sound. E normally says E, but in the word 9, it is completely silent. So 9 has one syllable, but 3 sounds within it. I, Now the last spelling we're going to look at for numbers is the word 10. Now 10 is a perfect word. Any word where you have all letters making their first or only sound, it's a perfect word and it's an easy word to sound out. So 10 is one syllable, but it has 3 sounds. T, n. And the E has 2 sounds, E, but in the word 10, it's making its first sound.
Welcome back. So I have a student activity coming up for you where you can practice some of your sounding out skills when it comes to reading number words to make the numeral to match. Now the numeral is just writing the number. Numeral is only writing the number. So we're going to sound this out the best we can, and we're going to try and match up the numeral to the number word that I have up there. I've got some practice activities coming up for you on the next slide, and I don't expect you to memorize everything you just saw with my spelling lesson. Please rewatch that as many times as you need to and practice sounding out and writing your number words. But I don't expect you to memorize all that like right now. I'm going to have a little clues to help you out along the way on the student practice slides. So as long as you can count, you can sound out some of the words, you can figure out what word it is and look up the correct spelling and get that down, or look up the correct numeral and write that down. That's all that matters. And if you can count, you'll be able to look things up just fine, and you're going to do really well on the work coming up. So right now I'll show you what it looks like. So we're going to sound this out and we're going to put the number, the numeral down to match it. So remember the E on this one is a silent E, and it's actually got an important job to do. It's a helper. It's helping that I make its second sound, I instead of I. So I is saying I, the E gets a double underline because it's a quiet, silent helper. And there's the help it's giving. Normally the I says I, E, Y. Here it's making its second sound, I. Just remember that. The E doesn't say a thing on this one. So I, V is 5. The next one, S, V, N. Remember, all the E's make their first sound but they've got some schwa sounds in there. Now the schwas make it tricky, so 7, 7, 7. You can hear a whole bunch of different vowel sounds, especially for this one. 7, 7, 7. Remember, we're spelling it all with E's, but 7 looks like this. Now the next one is super tricky. We're going to learn all about this grapheme later on in the year. This is ow, o, u, in the middle, the OU, and it's making its second sound O. So it's important to know that those two letters are working together, making one sound O. So you don't sound out every single letter for this one, because those two in the middle are the tricky part. So if you can remember that, you're going to spell this word properly every single time. So O, 4. If it helps when you're spelling out the words, go ahead and underline the graphemes if you can remember them. That'll help you sound them out properly instead of trying to sound out every single letter, when sometimes more than one letter is working together to make a single sound. Try the practice activities I have coming up for you. Again, remember, as long as you can count, you can figure it out. Have some fun with it, and I'll see you soon. Welcome back. I hope you had fun working on the last few slides. The same help on the bottom that you saw on finding the number, the numeral for the number word, I've got the same kind of help on the slides coming up for you right across the bottom. So again, remember, if you can count, you can figure things out. So here we're going to do exactly the opposite type of work. We're going to look at the numeral and we're going to write the number word to match it. Now the very first one I have for you is one of the ones I think is the trickiest. Grade 2, you don't learn this grapheme with me until way later in the year because it's a huge grapheme. You have so many letters working together to make one sound that when you first look at it and start trying to learn it, it doesn't make any sense. So you got to get used to it. This one is the trickiest one. So of course it's the number 8. Now AI is spelled E-I-G-H. And those 4 letters work together to make that one sound, the first sound A. So 8, E-I-G-H, and then that last sound T, A, T. There's only 2 sounds. So here is your grapheme, and the T is a separate grapheme that's just one letter working all by itself. So you can see how this is a little bit tricky. So if I wanted you to spend any time on anything, it's probably spelling the word 8, because you don't want to write A-T-E because that's I ate my tuna sandwich. That's not the 8 we're looking for. There are different kinds of 8s. And that one is not the number. So work very hard to figure out how to practice this one. Okay, the next number we're looking at is 9. So N-I-N. There's something really quiet on the end there. I'm sure that you've had some work with it already and you can kind of figure out what's on the end that's making no sound at all. I'm going to write the number word. N-I-N. And the quiet thing is a silent E. Now this guy doesn't say a thing, but he's a quiet helper. So he's helping the I that says I-E-Y, say its second sound I. So that's why it says N-I-N and not nin. Okay, you need the E. Now the next one, 0. Now 0 means nothing. But we're not going to write nothing. We're going to write 0. So Z-E-R-O. Z-E-R-O. Now, the O is allowing that E to make its second sound. Vowels are very special, like A-E-I-O-U and sometimes Y. Well, most of the time Y, because Y mostly makes vowel sounds, except for one exception, yeah. Any other sound that Y makes is a vowel sound. So A-E-I-O-U, and most of the time Y, those are your special letters. They have magical powers that the other letters that are consonants just do not have. And here, because the O is one of those magic vowels, it's helping that E say its second sound. So instead of 0, it's 0. Now the O is making its second sound all by itself, and that is an exception to the English spelling. So you just need to remember there's no E behind the O helping it. It just says O all by itself. So go ahead, work on the slides that I have coming up for you. Again, I have the same help on the bottom of each slide to help you out. So as long as you can count, you're going to do amazing. See you soon. Well, we've come to the end of another Miss Teacher Tube episode. I hope you've learned a lot about reading and writing number words. And again, if you need to practice, go go ahead and re-watch all of my spelling lessons on this slide to help you make sense of writing and reading those number words. That's all I have for you today. Again, if these episodes are useful to you, please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.